Hello, everyone. Glory to God in the highest, and on earth, peace to people of goodwill. My name is Kevin Gregg. Welcome back to the show that is designed to help you reflect, refresh, rebuild, reinvent, reinvigorate your life according to God's calling for your life. Visiting us again is Patrick Quinn. Say hello, Patrick.
Hey guys.
Hi. Patrick's been on the show a number of times. He is an actor that I've worked with before in the past, reached out to me, said, "Hey man, I'm trying to navigate my creative career. I'm a Christian. How do I do that? I'm also trying to be like a working husband. I want to be a family man. I want to be a father someday. How do I do all this stuff?" And yeah, we've been having an interesting conversation over the last several weeks. How are you,
Yeah.
man? How are you?
Well, I'm great. Feeling lonely over the weekend. My
Where's your wife?
wife,
Where's China?
I know she went to a skating conference to make some connections,
Okay.
and so she's actually back tonight. I think this might be the longest we've gone in our marriage to date, separate,
Wow.
and I'm so lonely.
How long has she been gone for?
Just 3 days. She left on Saturday. Yeah,
Well, that's quite an accomplishment that you've only had that amount of time away from each other. I was
I
in
know, right?
Do you guys how did you guys navigate the pandemic? Did you were I mean, was it too much? Were you guys together too much, or did you figure out ways to space yourselves out, or how did that work?
No, we before the pandemic we were on tour together, so we were staying in little hotel rooms all the time, and we went from the hotel room straight to work. And so there was very little alone time there. So I guess we sort of got used to a pandemic feel
Okay.
pretty quick during that. But no, yeah, boy, looking at the housing situation, we came back from tour to my parents' house where
Right.
they had set up our apartment in their guest room. Basically, they let
Mhm.
us keep all our furniture set up as a room, and
Yeah.
that we were like, feel free to use that room. Like we're just so appreciative for that. So we were stuck in that room with my parents for a little bit, and then we got uh, some friends were renovating a house in Loma Linda, and they let us rent there really cheap because they were redoing the floors in most of the rooms. So we had a lot of space there. So that was probably where we did most of our like pandemic
Sure.
decompressing, like getting some alone time. But
Yeah.
I don't know. We seem to have done all right. Now we're in a little studio where it's just one big room, and so there's really no privacy.
Yeah.
Um, if I was keeping my bachelor hours, I think we would have had more of an issue. But because we go to bed at the same time, we wake up at the same time.
Interesting. Well,
Yeah, it hasn't been a huge issue.
we had I'm just going to say a couple of things that I experienced. So the first year of our marriage,
Hmm.
Kate and I and Kate's son, now my son Luke, but we all started out together. And I remember the first year of our marriage, I would say about 3 months after we got married, I ended up booking we both, Kate and I both ended up booking a educational tour that was down in Orange County with South Coast Repertory with Costa down in Costa Mesa. So we moved everything, myself, Kate, and Luke. We moved from Northern California, where Kate had all of her support system and everybody that was up there. And we moved down to Orange County, which was, even though my parents lived up in LA, it was still kind of a jaunt.
Yeah,
And we were down in Orange County and we were working together and we were 24/7 together that first year of marriage. It was really difficult for us
yeah,
because we were our experience was we were doing everything together at the same time. I know that you and China sort of do that. For us, it was like I didn't have any outlets, like I didn't have any other friends that I was talking to at the
yeah.
time. So it was like it was just Kate and I all the time. So
Just like
if you were
full
having any
blast.
yeah, so if you were having any frustration or any issues, it's like sometimes you can come home from work and you're talking about stuff and decompressing with your spouse, but like she was in the same scenarios. So it was like we did this 5-month tour and it was challenging. It was, for us, it was super challenging.
Yeah,
For me, I knew that I needed to have like these moments where, hey, I need to have some space, or you need to have some space, or we need to have other people that we're talking to so that we can come back and have the shared experience. Um, I would say that we navigated the pandemic pretty well. We're in a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house that we rent here in Studio City.
Uh,
And it's we basically have 4 adults here. We've got my wife, myself, and my 2 adult sons.
mhm.
And even with Duncan, with his schooling, with special education schooling, with autism, we were able to sort of like everybody just sort of navigated. And the thing that really did help us is like everybody has their own different sort of sleep patterns, like for
Oh,
me, I'm one of
huh.
those guys that I get up early and crank out my work. Kate's one of those people, like she likes to stay up late. So we'd have
Yeah,
these moments where you'd have a couple of hours at a time where you'd sort of have the house to yourself,
yeah.
while other people were resting. So interesting,
Huh.
you know?
Well, that reminds me. Early in our marriage, I don't know if we would have had such a peaceful pandemic quarantine period. We when we first got married, we stayed with her parents for the first like month
Hmm.
of our marriage because we were very tight on money and our how much to go into. We were very encouraged to go on a bit of more of an expensive honeymoon than we were planning to.
Sure,
And
sure.
we were given a few gifts of, very cheap housing
Yeah.
that made the honeymoon almost affordable.
Yeah.
But at any rate, we came home nearly broke.
Yeah.
And so it was sort of neat actually, because then we were literally starting from the floor and building everything back up together. So like
Yes.
try to look for the positive. But
Yes.
when we came back, we lived with her parents in a little, they live on the beach, and they have a very small, it's not a small house, but it feels small for 4 adults, 2 couples.
It's a lot to navigate, right?
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
lot to navigate.
Newlyweds
We
living in someone else's house. Whew.
let's completely talk about this. It's completely off topic for a second, but
Mhm.
maybe there's some people that might identify with this.
Yeah.
Um, I knew when I was getting married, we got married back in 95. 95 is when we got
Mhm.
married. And again, we sort of like again scrambled and put all this. I saw a trend that happened, and you probably experienced this because you're a newlywed. And sorry, everybody that's listening. I know that you wanted to have like, hey, let's talk about creative work. Just pause it. Well, here's the important thing too, because you know what's some of the stuff that I really want to do, Patrick, with this show.
Uh-huh.
I so want to encourage um, young people to get married. I really do. I so want to encourage young people to get married and to start families and to do that stuff. I experienced, and going about it in a smart way, like
Yeah.
communicating with your partner and working with your church and your minister, and going through with other people. I so want to encourage people to get married and to have kids and to start a family because I feel like my generation, I grew up with so many guys that I saw them navigate their 20s and 30s just terrified of getting married or thinking that marriage was the end of the world, or young women like saying, I don't want to have, I don't want to have kids and throw away my life or whatever it is. And it's like, it's such a beautiful thing. So I think that this is
Mm.
probably why I want to hang out here just for a second, because I've been realizing like this is part of my long-term call is to go,
Huh.
hey, you can get married and you can have children and you can have a full life and you can use your skills and abilities at the same time. I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's easy, but I'm saying it is possible, and there's some great fruit that comes from it as well. um 2 things I want to hang out on.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, you'll hear my son Duncan hanging out as I have to occasionally tell him, yeah, take a break, buddy, hang out. Thank you. I'm in his room. So what do you expect? What do you
Gotcha.
expect, Patrick? I'm down to it. This will probably be the last couple of weeks that people see me in this room.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law is moving down with us,
Uh-huh.
and her and Duncan are going to be roommates for just a little while we set up another room. But you'll see me in my other location
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah.
Um, so 2 things I want to comment on. which you probably experienced. I saw
Mhm.
this happen over the last 10 years with a lot of young couples I knew through Disney. The pressure that I saw over the last couple of years as weddings got bigger and bigger and bigger and more expensive. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And I saw this particularly with lot of young ladies down at Disney, right? A lot of young ladies that they wanted like this amazing wedding. And brother, this was such talk about the negative side of Facebook and Instagram, right? Like
Uh-huh.
everybody seeing everybody's wonderful beach wedding and all of the great stuff and the huge parties and everything that they would do.
Mhm.
And then I'm starting to notice another trend, which I totally get. Like it's now I see so many of those people now switching into the area of just like, look at this house that we just got, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
I say this stuff fully admitting this, right?
Mhm.
I won't go into all the details of it because we've got to get to the work that you've been doing. But
Mhm.
um, I have had challenges along the way. I have literally had three opportunities in the last 15 years where I had major down payments
Yeah.
for homes and then got blindsided by market, family emergencies, and other dysfunctional things that happened and
Yeah.
saw those deposits go away. Now I'm being transparent here. I'm in a final turnaround where I'm kind of going this next time that I have this, and we're right on track to do that, to finally get a home and to do all that stuff moving forward. Um, but it's also very challenging. Listen, me at 40, how am I? 49 now, but at 49, like I'm looking at some of these young ladies and just kind of going, well, good for you. I'm so happy. So,
Awesome.
it's good. Listen, man, I get it, man. There's some people that I know that have worked their tails off and that they've gotten their homes at a younger age. And I say, that's amazing. And that's stuff that I go,
Yeah.
fantastic. But not
Yeah.
all of us are in the same situation. So, Patrick, I'm throwing this
Yeah.
out here to you, buddy, because you're
Yeah.
probably right in the midst of this, right?
Mhm.
The expensive weddings that everybody was like showcasing, right? And now you see like the other push of just like, look at this amazing house that we just got, and like the
Yeah.
push of that. Any comments on that?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's similar
I
to yours. It's
know.
like good for you. Proud of you. Um, yeah, I social media in general just gets to me because or rather it I could see it getting to me, and so I've mostly removed it from my life, even though I'm trying to post on Instagram.
Oh, sure.
um
Yeah.
here's a secret. I actually delete the Instagram app in between posts now.
Good for you, man. Good
Yeah.
for you.
Well, I mean, I just waste so much time on it. it's
Yeah.
it's just knowing my own weaknesses, I guess, of, like I will sit on there and waste hours. And it's like, you know what? Just deleting that from my phone. And then when
Yeah.
I have a new thing to post, I'll download it again and go again from there.
That's amazing.
um, and it's a place for people to put just their highlights.
Right.
Um, so
Right.
instead of getting the real update from a person of what's hard in their life, what struggles they're going through, what failures they're going through, you just get here's a success, here's me working out, here's me eating healthy. And you don't see all the in between meals, you don't see
Yeah.
all the in between, like days off. You don't see, or maybe they are just working that hard all the time. But it's a constant, just this is the best thing of this person's life, this is the best thing of this person's life, this is the best thing of this person's life. You just see all the bests.
Yeah.
And boy, if you just compare yourself against however many people in your feed, 80 people's bests,
Yeah.
you've only got, one, two things worth sharing each week, maybe.
Yeah.
And so you're
Totally.
going to feel like, wow, everybody else is always succeeding and I've only got one or two. That's
Mm,
my thought process on it. So when people are posting
so
about their
good.
house, it'd be so easy to look at that and go like, where am I at? Where am I at?
Yes.
Um, in particular for us, we've thought about it. Obviously we can't afford a house yet. It's not a wise decision for us at this point too, because we want to go
And
back on
and I
tour.
want to and I want to put a caveat out there, which is
Mhm.
like which other people in different parts of the country or different parts of the world that might be watching this.
Mhm.
Um, Southern California is a crazy market. It is a
Yes.
crazy market where it's just like you just go, what? Like I give the perfect example what my parents' home was worth, in the late 80s when I was growing up.
Mhm.
Um, it's almost quadrupled in value, and they have not done any major renovations on the
Yeah.
property at all. It's just where they happen to be located. They're located right in the heart of West Hollywood, and it's just like, right? And even and I'm saying this here where I live in Studio City because my wife Kate and I have been thinking about like what's our next future. To
Yeah.
just give context for what people and Patrick, you're down in Orange County, yeah? Are you down in
Orange
Orange
County.
County?
Yeah.
Yeah. But where I am, the area that I live in, Los Angeles, you know, where I live, if I wanted to purchase about the same size of a house that I'm renting here, which is about a 13 to 1400 square foot house, okay?
Mhm.
Not a lot of room here. But if I wanted to buy something that was the equivalent of this, that's right in my area, starting price is $850,000 where I am.
Yeah.
$850,000. And for people that are listening to this that are just like going, "Oh my gosh, what are you talking about?" Like it's crazy. I know that people that are in Hawaii deal with even crazier real estate value.
Oh yeah.
So I want to put that out there for people that are listening, just like going, "What's going on?" And it's like Patrick and I live in a part of the country where, wow, this is challenging. Like really to be in an area and to go, how the heck do you do this? To the point
Mhm.
where Kate and I are at the point of just like going, yeah, um, do we move a little north? Do we move out of state? Which Kate is not very keen on. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt that, but I just wanted
No.
to put
Yeah.
that. I needed to put that in context for people that are listening right now that go, come on, you can do it. And it's like, hey, we get certain opportunities that exist in the part of the country that we live in terms of the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
But when you're a working person, the opportunities do not match what you have available for you, particularly in terms of real estate. So
Mhm.
sorry, just wanted to say that. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, you're good. Yeah, that makes me think of my brother lives in Washington, up in Spokane area.
Mhm,
So that's the east border of Washington,
mhm.
and I believe he bought his first house. My mom will correct me after watching this. I believe he bought his first house for like 50 grand.
Oh gosh.
No, it was a very small house. It was I think a one
Yeah.
bedroom, one
Right,
bathroom,
right.
but still he was able to renovate it. He's a what do you call it, a journeyman, um,
Sure. Yeah.
like carpenter. He does a lot of
Yeah.
construction work type things. He was able to turn it around for triple that in like 2 or 3 years. No, he did a lot of renovations in the place, and Spokane is in a housing crisis now, where there are just so many people. I visited Washington and Idaho a lot recently,
Right, right.
and speaking with the locals there, apparently the influx of Californians
A lot.
migrating for affordable housing has created a huge, well, for all sorts of reasons
Yeah.
actually. Um, they've got license plates that say "Go back to California"
I know.
now.
I've got a
It's
nephew and
oh man.
his family. They moved up there several years ago, and
Mhm.
again, truly, truly enjoy it. But exactly that, where these
Yeah,
other states are like going, get out of here,
yeah.
you know.
Oh
So,
man, yeah.
uh, boy, you bring up such great points, right? About social media, how that can just continue to raise our level of anxiety of what we think is like the perceived version that everybody must be living the best life. And even as you were
Mhm.
saying that, I just thought, you know what I really thought?
Mm.
I could see an image of just like a bunch of mini icebergs. Like I could
Mm.
just see like a bunch of mini icebergs where you just go like people are showing like this part of their life that looks amazing, and you don't see any of the other big gack and all of the
Yeah,
other junk that's below the surface that's there.
yeah.
And listen, and I've seen it happen I've seen it happen the other way, where it's like, I've also seen people that have also, I don't know, and this is not meant for anyone that's going through an actual crisis, that's actually
Mhm.
looking for like help or support in a certain way. I have seen a few people that have kind of abused it for attention stuff, of just like, I'm
Yeah.
having a really hard day, or they'll say stuff that you go, I don't know if this is like a legitimate cry for help, because you're actually doing the way that you're doing it.
Yeah.
It seems almost like a showcasing thing, that you kind of want to be showered with a whole bunch of like, no, you're not, you're the best, you're the greatest, right?
Yeah.
And it just feels, I again, I always, I look at, for the most part, my social media accounts, I look at them as if they were advertising billboards, right?
Hmm.
Because that's sort of how I treat them.
Yeah.
I sort of treat them like, yeah, okay, if I was a company that was running stuff, I would put things out so people know what's going on business wise, or other things like that.
Right.
Um, but I tend not to post a lot of my personal stuff on there, for me, because I
Mhm.
just go, you know what? There's some things I think that I just kind of want to keep within my certain circles. Are there some achievements and stuff like that I want to share? But yeah, for the most part, whenever I'm posting something, I go, is this really something that I want out in the world for other people to know? You know?
Yeah.
I maybe the closest I get to it is
Yeah.
probably the closest I get is having the conversation. But again, I also, one of the things I try to do specifically on these shows is, I want to show you the backside of it, of how much it sucks, right?
Mhm.
Or the things that don't go well, or the fact that, uh, uh, listen, man, I particularly remember a moment that happened with me 4 or 5 years ago that was like, really sucked, man. I was down at Disney and just hustling and doing all this other stuff. And I remember I was in a conversation with somebody while I was getting quarters for my laundry.
Hmm.
And, I remember a guy that was around my age that was just going, "What are you getting quarters for?" I just said, "Well, I have to do laundry at my place." "What? You rent? What are you, an effing moron?" Like, it was
Oh,
just like that. And I just got like inundated, and I just went, "Yeah, man, had a lot of hard hits over the
yeah.
last 15 years." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Where I got like blindsided by a couple of things. And obviously he kind of backtracked, because then when I unpacked some stuff with him, I said, you got I'm going to guess you got a mortgage that you're just doing this with, right? You're just underwater, and your nose
Yeah.
is just right above, and you're panicked that you're going to lose it at any moment. And like, as I started having the conversation with him, he was like kind of going, "Yeah, I kind of deal with that." And I go, "Yeah, well,
Well,
it doesn't help." you
yeah.
know I think that there's so much power in terms of just being transparent, instead of just like going, "Hey, I've got it all wrapped up. It's all perfect." And some people, God bless them, man, they got that going on.
Yeah.
Um, but for me, I'm just gonna be honest with where I'm at, and just share the parts where it's messy and not getting it right. So, go ahead. Did you want to say one other thing about that, or?
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's it's, I think, super wise to share the struggles and the hardships as well, and not just share your highlights, because it, aside from perpetuating the cycle by, adding more to the feed, so that other people are seeing just the best ofs or whatever, if you share all the struggles, all of it, uh sort of the similar reason why I didn't want to come on here anonymous. I want to talk as me, is it keeps you accountable. The more honest you are, the more honest you will be.
Yeah.
I Sounds sort of ridiculous, but like, I think that I believe that it's, the more that you practice honesty, the more you make yourself an honest person,
Yeah.
where you just speak it. You don't omit the nitty gritty, put it all there, and as you were talking, sorry, really quick,
No,
the
please.
social media, it's not just the highest highs. As you were saying it, I was like, you know what, it's also the lowest lows. So instead of it just being the highest highs, and you go like, oh man, I'm really, I'm really struggling, I'm not like them. You also see people who are really struggling on the opposite end. And so, I'm not even struggling hard enough to warrant how I'm feeling. And then that just
Mm,
smashes your emotions to
mm,
depression, which is what a lot of my friends deal with.
yeah.
In my generation, I've
Yeah.
noticed. And like you were talking about before, getting married, and now I want to eventually have kids. I haven't had kids yet. Um, like if I wasn't married during this pandemic, boy, I would probably actually be struggling.
Yeah.
But having my wife there for me has just she's been an anchor. She's been a rock.
Yeah.
And when I'm struggling, she points me back to God. When I'm
Yeah.
struggling, when you know what I mean. When she's struggling, I point her back to God. When I'm struggling, she points me back
Yeah.
to God. And just having somebody there who agrees on the fundamentals
Yes.
that keep each other strong. We're, iron sharpening iron. We're that stick that holds the tree up. It keeps
Yes.
you. So when one leans, the other one holds it up. And
Well,
boy, yeah, yeah,
you bring up such an important point, which is, and again with this transparency about
mhm,
our faith, about Christianity, about our belief in God, about our trust in Jesus Christ.
mhm,
I'm telling you that that's part of the reason why I transitioned and started doing this show, because everybody also those struggles that you talk about, like so many people are navigating this stuff, and we've got like a couple of generations of people now that are like are trying to navigate like this depression or this sadness, and we're both going to be on here saying it's not a magic pill, but it sure does help. It sure is absolutely foundational, and
yeah,
it's absolutely foundational for me as I'm navigating some of the most difficult challenges of my life, where I
hmm,
literally have to lean into Jesus and just say, help me through this, because I can't do this. I cannot do this on my own. And the fact that
yeah,
the fact that I can lean into a stronger, more powerful, loving person of God and God Himself in order to just help me through it. And again, having that peace that passeth all understanding. That's a shout out to Jillian Abney here of just like, from Philippians chapter 4, verse 7, right? Having that
yeah,
peace that passeth all understanding. And trying to use that as the example, because there's a lot of people that just feel like, hey, this is how I navigate my life. I navigate my life by working out and eating great, and I get to go have fun, and I get to do all these cool things,
yeah.
and that's what makes my life perfect.
Manifest positivity.
It's that, man. It's just like call it out and it'll come to you. And it's like, it's the universe helps us. And it's like, it's
Yeah,
not the universe, it's God. It's the Son of God. It's the Holy Spirit. It's that stuff. And I think that that's the stuff that I want to be transparent about too on these shows and with any of the stuff that I'm able to do. And it's not to hit people over the head with it, right?
right.
But it's to just serve as a witness, to just go, that thing that you're missing, man, that I just talked about this the other day on my show, that thing that you're missing, it's a God-sized hole. That's the only thing that's going to end up helping, right? And it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect, but it sure helps, you know?
Yeah, I try to put myself in people's shoes, being a performer. That's one of the things that we do. And with my friends who are struggling with depression, I try to think about it and like, all right, well, like, is there anything that I can point out to them as like, hey, it sucks. Yes, it sucks, but you have this that you can work towards. You have this. I'm deciding whether to actually say anything or just listen, but putting myself in their shoes to look for the silver linings. I'm like, boy, if you don't have a greater purpose for why you're here, I don't see how I could get out of that depression if I were in your place. It's like, yeah, you make a lot of good arguments. If you don't have God, if you don't have that greater reason for being,
Mhm.
yeah, why are you here? If you believe that we're just a random chance, that that whatever the thing is that made us, you just were a roll of the dice that just happened to come up sort of looking like a person, why are you here? Purpose, man. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting. Good stuff to talk about. Let's
Yeah. Sorry.
transition for a second. No worries. Let's transition for a second. Uh, you lucky son of a gun. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yes.
You lucky son of a gun. Here's
Mhm.
to recap. Uh, Patrick and I, every couple of weeks when we get together, what we've been doing is we've been talking about things to help him move forward, and we issue challenges to each other. Uh, and one of the challenges that I issued to Patrick a couple of weeks ago was he'd been submitting on Upwork for different jobs. And I told him he was kind of at the point now with the submission rate. If he upped his submission rate, there was a very good chance that he would book at least a low paying gig. The thing was, this wasn't about booking something huge. It was about the fact of him actually booking something. And I had also put out a challenge to myself, which was about putting out 6 video clips from my shows and renewing, doing some changes to my websites. And if that didn't happen, we each had our challenges. So first, Patrick, I'm going to go to you.
Uh-huh.
We knew that if it wasn't going to happen, what was going to be the the penalty? We've been using penalization goals.
Yeah. So if I failed in my goals this time, I was going to either have Kevin or my wife, when she gets back, change my Steam login password so that I
It's a
can't
video
access my
game
video games. Yeah.
online video game platform, right?
And that means that I don't get to log on to play with my friends, uh, which we play a very fun game.
Right. And so
But it
if
would be
that
good for me too, though. So
yes, so if that had happened, you would have lost access to that for a week.
mhm.
That would have been it.
Yeah.
And letting people know, we had Doug Riggle, he's been a patron of the show. I've been
Mhm.
working with him on different projects. He'd actually given Patrick like sort of a heads up of like saying, hey man, if things don't happen, just let me know. There were a series of kerfuffles that happened over the last couple of days. So as we're coming towards this recording date,
Yeah.
it looked like it wasn't going to happen. As a matter of
Yep.
fact, there were some kerfuffles that happened with Doug, and it didn't look like stuff was going to happen. What happened, Patrick? What happened?
Oh, yeah. Well, so I've been applying. My another part of my challenge was I was supposed to spend a set amount of time each day, and so
Mhm.
I did that with leeway for weekends. Is what
Sure,
I don't know if I said that, but in
that's
my mind
fine.
that was always
No
it.
worries. Adjust.
And yeah, applying and applying and applying and getting down on myself. Like, all right, well, it's not working right now. All right, well, I guess it's time to reach out to Doug. And I'm like, okay, how do I reach out to Doug? And I commented on the YouTube video, and I sent a message to Kevin. I'm like, hey, is there any way I can get in touch? He connects us on email, and I sent him an email. Hey, if like if
I
you'd
mean,
like to save my
it
video
was
games,
down to it. It was like
yeah.
it was like 18 hours before our recording, and I just
Mhm.
thought this ain't gonna happen, right? And I
Yeah.
also let him know that there were some, challenges that Doug was sort of dealing with, which was like Doug's in the
Yeah.
middle of a couple of different things and like going, but I
Mhm.
don't think he's gonna be able to get back to you
Yeah.
in time, right?
And Doug, when you hear this, don't worry about it. It was it's fine.
I don't know if you've checked it out or not. He has reached back out to you again. So go check
Oh,
your,
cool.
yeah. So you probably have not gotten a chance to see it, but
Uh,
he has reached out to you via email.
oh,
So
good. Thank you. Thank you.
check that after the show, after we record.
Perfect.
So Doug
Um,
was not able to, before
yeah,
we recorded this, Doug was not able to lock down some work for you.
yeah. And so last night, I'm like, whatever. I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to just submit as many as I can tonight. And I sent in all my submissions, and I was on my last submission of the night. I was getting ready to go to bed, and my wife and I started a video call, just to catch up because she was having a rough day.
Right.
And we ended up talking for hours. And so over the course of the video call, I got ready for bed. I laid down in bed. We were like saying goodnight, going to bed. And I went, oh, I had one more job I didn't submit for. I need to get up. So I
Yes.
got up, and I come on over, and I finished typing out my little proposal.
Yes.
and I put in my little demos and I send it. I'm like, okay, that's that. I'm going to bed. That was at about oh, I can't actually remember. I think it was like 3 a.m. last night.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It was no, maybe it was like, yeah, about 3 a.m. last night.
Good for you.
I think whatever. It was early in the morning, way too
Yes.
late at night, you know.
Yes.
And I'm like, whatever, I'm ready to face Kevin tomorrow and tell him, you know what? I tried and I failed.
Yes.
And so I was in that moment. I was already ready to be humbled. And then
Yes.
I woke up in the morning and
then
apparently
then you got to see this right here,
4:30
which
in the
was
morning. Look at that.
thanks, Patrick. Approved. Now the client's changed the little things. So here's the instructions for the next steps. I will hire you now. 4:34 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
this morning. So about, for context for people that are here, about 3 hours just before we were supposed to meet.
How insane is that?
Look at this, man. Holy smokes. Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, man. You don't have to share, all of the details of it. Is it
Yeah.
is it okay? Is it a decent job? It just feels like, okay, great.
It's one of those $12 an hour gigs
Yeah, right.
that I said, you know what, I'm gonna go for it all and I'm just gonna
Good.
get something.
Okay. So let me ask you this, man.
Mhm.
What are your learnings from this that you had from the last 2 weeks? What were the challenges? I mean, obviously the win here is like, you still kept doing it. First of all, I'm so incredibly proud of you, right? Which is just like, oh
Thank
my
you.
gosh, dude, you did it. Like, you did. It makes me so happy because at first I thought, well, it's cool that I've been able to like connect, Doug and Patrick, and there's potential work that's going to come there in the
Yeah.
future. And that's amazing. I'm kind of impressed where I just kind of go, oh my gosh, dude, it worked.
Yeah. Like, I
So,
didn't think that would go.
well, but what are your learnings, your wins, the challenges that you faced with all of that?
Yeah. Oh boy. Well, so many challenges with it, but all challenges that have prepared me to move just that much quicker on professional jobs. And so I'm very appreciative for it all because I've gotten very good at breaking down and building up my sound booth here at home because I've got it. Just a quick reminder, I've got a little mobile sound booth that I built to go back on tour so I can record in hotel rooms. So it's moving blankets, a PVC frame, and then I've got my mic and my setup. I've got a little stool in there, and it takes up a bit of room in here. So when I've had people over, I break the whole thing down,
Yeah.
so that there's a little more space in the house because we've got a tiny little place we're staying in right now. And then I get a job booked and I go, all right, well, I got to throw it up quick. Well, not get a job booked. I've got an audition booked. Whatever, terminology. And so I've gotten very adept at tearing it down, putting it back up quickly,
Yeah.
which is exactly what I need while I'm on the road, because I'm going to be tearing it down, building it up every week in a new hotel room.
Yeah.
I've learned how to use the interface so much better, because depending on the audition, it was a couple of them are yelling, a couple of them are like whispers, a couple of them are explainer videos. And I've even practiced putting some music on the background of some of these videos.
Great.
And yeah, so it's been the challenges have been learning to do things that I need to be able to do that I didn't foresee.
Yes.
Um,
Learning those skills, right? So it's like
yeah,
now you're trying to like learn these other skills like on the fly and going, I actually don't have time to get this perfect, but I've got to go and just do this.
that's a really big one too, is yeah, the not having time to get it perfect and getting it to acceptable. Um, but at the same time, like, it has to be above a certain standard or I'm just hurting my reputation as a freelancer. And so yeah, so learning where those boundaries are for me of what I can achieve if I've got as much time as I need, what is the bare minimum of like, that is unacceptable, that will hurt my chances in the future. Filtering through jobs. I've also learned Well, honestly, a lot of this I'm still learning. I'll be upfront. I'm still learning
Yeah.
so much through
Yeah.
submitting to these jobs. I'm learning more what the clients are expecting,
Mhm.
because different clients, like some of them are sound design people who know exactly what they're talking about, and they'll give you the specs of what they want exactly, and for them you need to be
Yeah.
on it because they know what they're looking at. If you give them a product that's not what they're looking for, they can call you out on it.
Right.
Just from hearing it, it's interesting. And then some business people do not know anything and they want you to do the whole process.
Right.
Some of them don't explain themselves well at all.
Correct.
So this particular job, I was reading the breakdown and it's a little bit confusing, but it's learning to communicate with them and ask for questions. I think I was actually hired for this one because obviously this is just me suspecting, but I was very verbal with my um, needing clarification on his breakdown.
Yeah.
And I saw that there were a lot of people who submitted for this, and he only picked a couple people for it.
Yeah.
And so I can only assume that showed that I was interested
Great.
enough to read the actual breakdown and question the things that were unclear.
It's great. It's
Yeah,
man,
so
it's
lots of
it's
that.
communicating, right? It is communicating. And there's
Mhm.
going to be, especially as you start working with people in different fields and different businesses, you're going to bring your expertise and your version of expertise, and you're going to apply it. And there's a little bit of a translation thing that happens to realize, oh, I'm dealing with
Yeah.
people in different industries that don't speak the same terminology that I do, and I have to listen to what they're asking, or I may hear them actually using incorrect terminology
Mhm.
in terms of what I know about the business and skill set. I've had that
Mhm.
happen with a number of clients where you hear some stuff and you go, well, I hear what you're saying, but I'm not gonna like, I'm going to interpret that. Like I'm going to
Yes.
interpret that and translate it. It's not my job to have to correct you, or if there's an opportunity to be able to educate people on that stuff, sure, absolutely. But sometimes it's about like, oh, okay, this is what you think it is. I'm hearing the gist of what you're saying. Let me grab it, let me interpret it, let me show you that I'm listening to what you're saying and I'm translating what you're saying and giving you what you're asking for,
Yeah, that's good.
you know?
Yeah.
Gosh darn it. So super
Hmm.
proud of you, buddy.
Oh,
So
thank
super
you.
proud of you. Well done.
Yeah.
It's neat,
Wow.
isn't it? It's neat when you kind of do the
Yeah.
thing. I think what's so powerful in this, man, is like, this is you. I mean, obviously with God's help, but this is you actually
Mhm.
saying, what can I do to go out there and actively cause work to happen
Yeah.
instead of just waiting around for somebody to give me an audition?
Yep.
What can
Yeah.
I do to actually be creating something on my side? You know?
Hmm. Yeah. And I'm also sort of slightly different. No, whatever. This booking a job finally, I think, will make my Upwork profile so much more trustworthy.
Hmm.
Because I know now from my experience 2 weeks ago with the scam one, um, that I need to watch out for people who are not verified, who have not paid people already. Um, and like that they could still potentially be things, but for the most part, I just avoid those. Um, Now, after I'm paid from these guys, I've got that verification that I delivered a product,
Yep.
and it's more than just my word on the little breakdown saying, "Hey, I will do this. I've got experience. I can deliver this product that you're asking for. I promise."
Yeah.
It's an actual, like, the website will say, "Yeah, he did it once."
Amazing. Well, that's it.
Yeah,
That's all it takes. It just takes that and then just building up that credibility over
yeah.
time, you know?
So I'm
So
excited. Hopefully this opens the maybe not the floodgates, but maybe there's a little crack under the door now.
that's
Woo.
okay. That's it, man. That's
Yeah.
exactly what you want to do. Well,
Mhm.
congratulations. I'm
Thank you.
so this is like the houses and the wedding thing. I'm so happy for you, man. I'm
I'm gonna post on
so
social media about it.
I'm so happy for you. Because my challenges that I had this last
Uh-huh.
week, um, I had some really big learnings. And one of the learnings that I had from this is I just wanted to show this to you.
Mhm.
I said that I was going to do all these things, get these six video clips together, do some restructuring of my websites, do all that stuff. If that
Yeah.
wasn't going to happen, I was going to be running 5 miles in the space of a day. Not something that I really like to do, but something that it is possible.
Yeah.
And here's something that I have learned. I've been able to accomplish a part of this, which is
Uh-huh.
I have learned. Stand by for 1 second. I got to close something here. Um, a huge learning for myself, which was a big thing, was that yesterday afternoon, I learned that I was able to accomplish something that I haven't done in years. And the first part of it is that I did get at least 3 miles under my belt yesterday.
Yes.
I didn't achieve. I didn't hit. I probably hit. I'm going to say that I hit about 1/9 of what I said that I was going to do in the last 2 weeks.
Oof.
Now, Patrick, I'm using this as again. This happened at about 6 o'clock last night, so we're recording this on Tuesday morning. It's about 8 a.m. So this afternoon, I'm going to send you a follow-up text with the additional 2 miles to show you
Uh-huh.
that I have run my 5 miles within the space of 24 hours. That's within a day. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Um, Holy smokes. First of all, I do want to say this. I haven't done 3 miles. Terrible time for anybody that's looking, going, good God, he's so slow. Um, but you know, that's me. Um,
When was the
anyway,
last time you were running though? Like,
well, I had been doing I've been doing versions of running several weeks ago where I was at least logging about a mile a day. But
okay.
I hadn't done a 2 mile stretch. I hadn't done a 2 mile stretch in at least 3 to 4 months. And the
Yeah.
last time that I did a 3 mile stretch, I can't even tell you the last time I
Yeah.
did a 3 mile stretch. That was just something where I just kind of went, oh,
Same.
yeah, I can totally do this, right? I
Mhm.
don't like it, but I can totally do it. Um,
Yeah.
Here's a thing that I actually wanted to share for myself. And this is
Yeah.
a moment where I have to kind of go, hey, man, would you please go a little bit easier on yourself?
Mhm.
A couple of things I learned for myself. I didn't build in any margin to my goals the last couple of weeks, right? Like
Mm.
I've been on this thing where I've been adding stuff. I've been putting out a locals video a week at a time. I'll talk about that at the end of our show here just shortly.
Yeah.
But I started adding that. I've been doing the Kevin Gregg shows throughout the course of the week. I've been doing your creative journey. In the meantime, I've also been working with clients outside of here that have been a couple of my Upwork clients trying to finish up some major deadlines. And then Duncan's been doing this transition. My son, who has autism, he's 22. He's just finishing schooling and he
Mhm.
has to do a transition into now stuff that's not in school. That's going to be this program that's called self-determination program. But I have to draft up versions of proposed budgets that I have to submit to state agencies and to do all this stuff.
Oof.
So, and in the meantime, I've probably been getting on average throughout the course of the week, maybe 5.5 hours of sleep a night. Okay.
Ooh.
So
Oh.
so I've been doing that. And on top of it, then I'd thrown all of these things, which they're all great intentions and great things to go, yes, that would be amazing stuff to do.
Mhm.
Um, but I haven't set in realistic margins for myself on any of this,
Mm.
right? So, first of all, there's the panic that sets in of like going, I got to get this done. I got to get this done. I need to do this.
Uh-huh.
I want to be, I want to I want to walk my talk on this show. But,
Mhm.
here's a perfect example of like, it doesn't always work out the way that you want it to. And, of course I got it's so much it's so much the war of art stuff, what Stephen Pressfield talks about in that book. He
Yeah.
refers to it as when you're making forward motion, you get hit by resistance. I describe that as Satan.
Uh,
Um, but Satan can hit you on a couple of things, right? He can hit you with a whole bunch of like things that you didn't expect, okay, which is going to happen. But then he can also start to sow in despair, discouragement. You need to give up. What's the point? What are you doing with all that?
yeah.
So there's a couple of things I'm walking away from this experience with. Is it's causing me to do like a real pause and to go, hold on a second. Let's go back to the things that you're working on outside of here, which is like really getting specific about the parameters of the projects that you're working on.
Mhm.
What are you doing? What are you doing and why are you doing this? Right? What are you doing and why are you doing this? And I have to take a big step back. And the things that and I'm just saying this out loud for myself so that I'm hearing it again.
Mhm.
I know this realistically. I have got a commitment to I'm working on two books right now with two different clients. One of the books is I'm working with Doug on, which has been amazing. There's another book that there's a lot of work that still needs to be done, and we're trying to get to what the end of that manuscript is, and it desperately needs my attention and focus. Right? It desperately needs my attention and focus, and I have to give it that because it's the only way that it's going to happen, right? I literally have to give it the time, the energy, and the focus. And then the other thing, which is like, I've legitimately got a situation with my son where I'm trying to lay down groundwork for what's going to happen for him over the next year. And that's only going to happen when I take the time to actually sit down, write out the programs, do that stuff. I hate to use the example of it, but it's like taxes for me, right? Where it's just like I got to get it
Yeah.
done. Like
I
there's no
get
two
that.
ways about it. This needs that attention and that focus. And so, I look back at all of the other things I've been working on, and the fact is that I have been making headway, right? The headway that I have been making is I've been showing up for these shows consistently with the podcast, which have been huge, huge.
Yeah. You've
I've
been
been
cranking them out.
been cranking them out. I've been I've been doing creative work with clients on a consistent basis to bring in cash flow into the house. That's a huge win, right? That's a huge
Yeah.
win. We've got other cash flows coming in from other stuff that happens for Duncan, which is huge. That's also a huge win. Um, but it is those moments of going, hey, man, take a look at the things that you are doing and are accomplishing. And I know that you've got all of these other things that you want to do and want to start building in. Don't get so far ahead of yourself that you're missing the actual fundamentals and foundational things that you need to be working on, that you have to get those things done. Right.
Mhm.
It's like, it's, and again, the lessons that I've learned for myself working on these podcasts and these shows have been teaching me the fundamentals of consistency, showing up consistently, even when you don't want to be here, show up, do the stuff, and you get the rewards from that. I think the other lesson that I'm being taught is to go, hey, you got to slow down. And as much as you want to take a look and get to all the bright, shiny stuff that's down there, okay,
Oh yeah.
we've also got to complete the other things that we've already committed to. And we have to bring those across the finish line. We got to complete those. We
Mhm.
can't dash off to all the other things or whatever. We got to complete the things that we've started here. And I think for me that's the big lesson. And the fact that I've learned, hey, I can run 3 miles in a stretch. That's great. Hey, I'm going to get
Yeah.
5 miles running in a day. So those are some things I've sort of learned from this experience. So I'm grateful
Yeah.
that I'm grateful that I failed.
Yeah, man. Well, by just about every stretch, I was right there with you. I woke up this morning and in the exact same spot. So at the
Yeah.
very least, we're in the same place there. I consider it still.
Yeah, man. It's learning as you go, right? And the
Yeah.
thing is that you get these moments of fellowship where we get to celebrate the wins that
Mhm.
some of our people have, and then we get to hear some of the challenges that people go through and go, all right, man, just pick yourself up. You're going to be
Yeah.
okay. You're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess this brings me to an interesting question. I've sort of vocalized the stuff that I've learned that I have to do. What do you think what's your next step for you over the next couple of weeks? Um,
Uh-huh.
and maybe we may not have the answer here. We may actually have the answer the next time that we get together and chat.
Uh-huh.
Um, why don't we end it with this instead of like leaving off with a all right, man, what's your next thing? Because otherwise I'm gonna right. It's like, okay,
Right.
we got that. We got that. Right.
Mhm.
It's this is sort of the graduation between punitive stuff that happens for kids when they're smaller. And as
Yeah.
they start getting older, you go, you can't really, send your kid to your room anymore. Right. Like
Mhm.
they're starting to get into a point like if you do that, if you don't eat your dinner, you're going to go to your room, right? And then eventually they get to a point where you go, that's whatever, okay,
Yeah.
you know. So I feel like I feel like I've reached that point with you, Pat. Oh, when you do that, when I see that, it makes me want to just go, all right, tough guy. Next one, if you don't do it, your Steam stuff is gone for a month.
No, no.
um So let's do this. Let's talk
Yeah.
about this. What do you think is sort of the next step for yourself? And of course, we'll check in with this in a couple of weeks if you're available. So, what do you think the next step is for yourself here over the next 2 weeks?
Yeah. All right. So over the next 2 weeks, we are at the end of what month is it? July.
We're at July. We're almost in August.
Yeah. So in about 2 weeks, life's about to accelerate fast for me
Yeah.
because halfway through August is our move out date that we're aiming for. We're renting from friends who are looking to sell a little bit after we move out.
Hmm.
So there's not like a hard and fast move out date, but we're looking to move out mid-August. Um, so we'll be packing up and getting ready to move out, probably transitioning that move out. Boy, probably starting next week actually,
Yeah.
with
Right.
the stuff we can afford to move out and keep living. Um, we got our workout regimen for the show that we got
Hmm.
booked for.
Hmm.
We're going back on tour as a recap again.
Hmm.
We'll be flying out to Florida in early September. We still don't know exactly when, but looks like rehearsals start pretty quick. So we've got to update. We were already doing our workout from the last show that we did to get back up into shape. I don't know if you can see my calluses. Nah, they're not really showing up.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
I've got 3 layers of rips
Wow.
in my
Okay.
hand.
Okay. Okay.
Um, but we just got our updated thing, so we're going to be not doubling, probably adding another 50% to our workout. So like, whew, I think we're doing overkill for what we need, but
Right.
for the type of performer that my wife and I are, I think it's necessary that we
Yeah.
we want to get there more prepared.
Of course.
You know,
Well, it's all precautionary as well. Like the
yeah,
more of that stuff that you do, the more that hopefully prevent yourself from injury and build yourself
yes,
up. So,
that was a rule that was communicated to me early on doing circus acrobatic type roles. I forget who exactly said it. Maybe it was Janosch. If Janosch ever sees this, thank you, Janosch, and thumbs around. Um, your performance should be the easiest physical thing you do all day.
hmm, hmm,
Um, which for some of the jobs we were doing, it's like, come on, please. And it's like, no, it should be your rest period
Yeah, totally.
that
Boy, I would
day.
see this with dancers at Disney. A dancer,
Yeah.
my gosh, man, they're just working their tails off in between performances, workouts,
Mhm.
workouts, routines, just going, 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 going. So impressive, you know?
Yeah. And it's, yeah, I mean, it's all there so that you can relax into the performance. Because if the performance is stretching you,
Mm,
well, maybe for certain performances it's not the same case, but for circus performances, if you are at the edge of your abilities while you're jumping from the trapeze to the guy, and your fail rate is, even 25%, uh show nerves are going to amplify that so much. So first
yeah,
off, you'll fail in your performance, but you're a lot more likely to get hurt with
yeah,
show nerves.
yeah,
um and so you're supposed to be way above what you need to be,
yeah.
to do the thing. So anyways, yeah, so moving out, updating our workouts, trying to make last minute, um going away reunions type things happen, just setting our affairs in order. So
Yeah.
that's going to be a lot this next month.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
This
so
is
I
a
guess,
this is
yeah.
honestly, man, this is a perfect example of
Mhm.
number one. I'm so grateful that you have this contract for the show, which is
Mhm.
set, and this income and this other stuff that's coming your way, which is amazing.
Yes.
This kind of goes back to the stuff that I was just talking about, like going, hey, you've got a couple of things that are like right in front of you that are sort of like your immediate responsibilities and your immediate focus,
Yeah.
which is like, cool. You know what? That those are things I really have to focus on right now and make sure that I execute those correctly. Because if I
Hmm.
don't execute those correctly, um, I'm not going to have income coming in. So,
Right. Yeah.
you know what I mean? Okay.
And so that, and then I want to put on top of that, because I think that this is, if not equally as important, very nearly equally as important. I do not want to let the habits I've been building, and the
Hmm.
work, the momentum I've just started. I've been shoving that rock, and it just budged. I want to keep that on. So my goal for myself is to still put in, at the very least, an hour on Upwork, looking for jobs every day, recording auditions, in addition to everything else going on. Because I think that is a realistic goal for myself
Okay.
while on tour, that I
Okay.
can I can maintain 5 days a week, an hour a day.
Okay. Then that's a good thing, man. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And again, just being realistic with that, right? Because
Hmm.
you're going to be tired, you're going to have all this other stuff, but just like
Hmm.
giving yourself that and saying, you know, be gentle with yourself because you're going to
Yeah.
be learning to do stuff. Again, I would encourage you, even if you're doing, as you're doing all this stuff, as you're out and doing, if you're even just starting out doing like a half hour a day as you're doing it,
Hmm.
you might be okay. Like that possibility. I understand like going for a full hour, but I'd
Yeah.
say give yourself maybe a little bit of like if you were easing into this, because realize you're meshing two different worlds right now, right?
Thank you.
you're
Yes.
you're
Yes.
meshing the idea that you're going to be doing it because knowing you're going to be a full out performer doing all this other stuff.
Hmm.
And then on top of that, there's going to be the fatigue that sets in. And then you got to find that extra push to do it. And again, an hour can just seem like an eternity, right? And just
Yeah.
go, how am I going to get to? So I would say you don't have to commit to this here, but I would say be willing to adjust that knob and to
Yeah.
say, buddy, if you get 18 minutes of that done a day for your first week, then
Yeah.
that's great. And then build up to 24 minutes and then 36 minutes, you know what I mean? Or to build it
Yes.
up. That would be a suggestion that I might give you.
Thank you. No, I absolutely need to hear that. Thank you so much for saying that, because you're right. Even as I'm saying it, I'm like, oh, I'm setting the bar really high for myself. Because, and people listening, an hour probably doesn't sound like that much. Like, come on, like that's your work, just get it done. But like you're saying, yeah, it's going to be exhausting.
It's
um
I'm such a big one on just
yeah.
saying just do it in little incremental chunks so that you're building in that habit. Because if you're
Yeah.
building in the habit, then the chances of you actually accomplishing it are going to be awesome. So
Yeah.
So let me get realistic
Thank
with
you.
you for a second.
Mhm.
So, because I'm gonna guess that if we have our next one of these, it's probably going to be our last one for a little while, right?
Mm.
Because I mean, you're going to be shipping out and doing all this other stuff, and like wherever your reception is, wherever the stuff is. So
Yeah.
um, why don't you and I we'll chat offline after this is done. Number one,
Yeah.
I owe you another picture showing that I've done my other 2 miles before
Yeah.
5 p.m. today Pacific time. So we're
Whew.
recording this on Tuesday. So probably when you guys are watching this recording, I'll probably put it in like the chat notes to say, yeah, I did it. I send it to him.
Yeah.
Um, but then let's you and I be like realistic about what our next get together is just before you're getting ready to split in September. I've got some challenging
Yeah.
stuff like next week I'm going out of town. You're going to be mid-August. You're going to be like doing some moving challenging stuff.
Mhm.
So this next one that we'll have will probably be our last regular one for a while, right? So it'll be sort of
Probably.
yeah, it'll probably be like a recap to see where you are, and then I can't wait like moving forward to like just check in with you and to see how you're doing like a couple of months from now. So I think maybe our next
Yes.
one that we'll talk about what have your experiences been during this podcast exchange as we've been doing it, the things,
Yeah.
maybe some of the learnings that you've had. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. I'm looking forward to it, buddy. All
I
right.
love it. Yeah.
Let's you and I we'll chat offline. We'll communicate back and forth, figure out what all this stuff is. But I'm looking forward to it. This has just been a real pleasure, man. Proud of you.
Thank you.
Proud of you.
Same. Likewise.
Congratulations, man. Awesome stuff. Awesome. Well, listen, thank you so much for tuning into the show. If you like this show, please do like and subscribe so you can get future episodes of the Kevin Gregg Show, where we talk about Christianity, art, business, history. We cover a myriad of things, but all of it's in with the filter of trying to get your work done that God has put on your heart. Hey, great way that you're able to help out the show. Specifically, if you go to kevingregg.locals.com and become a subscriber, it's free to sign up for kevingregg.locals.com. That's where I do most of my social media stuff. I have got a new series that I have been doing. Every week I put out videos. The first video is available for anybody that goes over there. The video is called Parameters for Working on a Project. It's a series of parameters that I discovered for myself that when I'm looking to work on a creative project, here's sort of like the yes no check boxes that I do for myself. We're several videos in. The first one is available to anybody that goes over there. If you become a subscriber at kevingregg.locals.com, which you can do for as little as $2 a month, you get access to the rest of the material that's on there, and you get to be part of an exclusive community with people that are like Patrick that are trying to like navigate this stuff. So you can you can communicate with other people that are trying to figure out how am I creative? How do I honor, the work that God sort of put on my heart? How do I do this? How do I do this? So head over to kevingregg.locals.com. Patrick, a pleasure, man. Good seeing you,
Truly.
brother. Good
Truly it
seeing you.
has. Good seeing you.
We will see you, God willing, in a couple of weeks, and I can't wait. Maybe by this time the next time that we meet, you'll probably book like 5, 6, 7 more gigs, and it'll just be
Oh.
like, I don't know what to do with all this work, Kevin. I don't know. So, which I'll
Yeah.
say, well,
Oh
give some to
boy.
me, man.
Yes. No, I want to pay it forward. I love it.
Very good. Any closing thoughts you have for anybody that's watching at all?
Yeah, well, while you were talking about your locals profile, I was just doing some quick math. Guys, $2 a month, that's the price of giving up one Starbucks every 2 years.
I will take that. Come on. Can I use that quote?
Yeah, do it.
All right. Very good. All right. Patrick, good seeing you. Everybody, thanks so much for joining us. I'm going to end this call. That's what I'm going to do. Patrick, be well, brother. God bless you, man.
God bless you.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.